Welcome to the Dance Studio Empire podcast, a mix of business strategies, simple tips for studio growth and success, with a touch of inspiration, motivation, plus raw and honest conversations to ensure you are building your studio empire. I'm your host, Jen Dalton, studio owner for 30 years, dance business coach, and author of the book Teaching Dance Beyond the Steps. My business philosophy is creativity is our superpower, and I believe we all have the means and ability to infiltrate this into our studio. Just sometimes we can get too busy, distracted, or overwhelmed to see that. And so this is exactly what I am here to help you do. Okay then, let's do this. Hit that subscribe button, sit back and relax. Now let's get ready to build your dance studio empire. Welcome to this episode of Dance Studio Empire. And in this episode, I'm going to talk to you about how I exactly grew my studio from 0 students to 1,200 students. Now, at the time of this recording, I am in my 29th year of owning and running my studio, which is quite incredible to think that, next year we'll be celebrating 30 years. And when I was putting the information together for this podcast, I thought I should probably go back to the beginning and tell you how it all started. Because I didn't set out to start a business. I didn't wake up one morning and say, right, today's the day, I'm going to start a studio. It happened quite organically. And I thought I'd give you a bit of backstory, because the funny thing is, what I did back then, I still do to this day. So let's go all the way back. And so 29 years ago, I was 14 years old and I was assisting with my teacher, who was my auntie. And so she actually owned the studio. And one of the students in the class that I was assisting with, her mum asked if I would be able to teach her some extra dance classes throughout the week. I ran this by my auntie and she was more than happy for me to do it. And so then I began running these extra classes for this girl. Within a couple of weeks, she said, I've got a couple of friends. Would it be okay for them to join? I said, oh, of course, the more the merrier. And so we finished up the year, and at the end of the year, we had a little concert on their back veranda. The 3 of them did 3 little dances. We had a barbecue, and it was really beautiful for that first year experience. Well, those 3 then turned into 12 the following year, and then that 12 turned into 20, and that 20 turned into 40, and that 40 to 80, and that 80 to 100. So by the time I was in my final year of high school, I had 100 students. I was teaching, I think it was about 3 afternoons a week. So I'd go to school like everybody else. But instead of coming home and watching TV and getting straight into my homework, I'd go to the local scout hall, the local guide hall where I was teaching at the time, and I would teach classes. And, it was absolute joy and bliss. Like it was, I never thought of my life being any other way. Anyway, so that's how I started. And then once I was doing that for a while, I continued to grow, and I continued to study, and I continued to learn more and more, because I was falling in love with the idea of running this studio as a business. However, I wasn't tied up with what we can get tied up with today, with the social media and the online presence and that constant need to be in people's faces. Thankfully, I can say back then it appeared to be a lot easier and, not as intense as it is today. But when I do think back about how I grew, and this wasn't even conscious decisions at the time, but this is when I think back, this is what I did, and I still do this now. So I thought, what a great place to start for this podcast. Let me go through these points. There's 7 of them. And so this is what I did back then. And as I just said, I'm still doing them today. So the first thing that I did when to grow those students, it happened slowly. It happened, it wasn't a quick fix. It wasn't a decision made and, I want this, and it happened, the next week or the next month. And I think sometimes with the society that we live in now, we are so used to things happening instantaneously, or as if we want something, we can just go and get it straight away. We have to just take it slowly. The benefits of things being slow is we build a stronger foundation. And I think we uh, slow is subjective. What's slow to you might be slow to someone else, and what's that's slow to what I think is slow. However, I think time needs to be put in, just so if you're wanting to build something solid, there has to be some time put into those foundations. And so now if I'm introducing new things, it still happens, probably not as a slower pace as it was back then, but there still is that time put in to make sure that we're on the right track and we're doing the right thing so the foundations are built solidly. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing, in the beginning, I did everything. I did it all. I taught all the classes. I did all the payments. I did all the paperwork. I organized the costumes. I put the music together. I did the programming. All that I did. And the benefit of doing that was when it was time to grow and hire staff and put on new teachers, I knew exactly what I needed them to do. And so that made hiring more efficient because I wasn't fumbling my way through. I know this is what I'm going to need you to do. I know this because I did it. And so that was a benefit in me doing things myself before hiring. And so again, transfer it to today, and I look at the things now when I'm starting something new. I like to do it first so that I know what's happening before I put someone else on to do it, or before I ask a teacher to help out. I need to know what that is first. So that's the second point. Now, moving on to the third point. When it was time to grow, I made conscious decisions and then conscious actions for that to happen. So it wasn't just a slowly evolving process. There were quite deliberate thought processes that went into that. And again, still now, when it's time to grow or time to pivot, there's a lot of consciousness that goes in, but it's got to be followed by the actions. And then on the flip side of that, when it was time that I wanted to consolidate, I wanted to take I had 6 locations at the time, and I didn't want 6 locations anymore. And so I consolidated those back into, I think it was 4. And so that was another conscious decision and then action that followed to do that. So that's the next point. Following on from that, probably one of the biggest lessons that I think a lot of studio owners do miss back when I was young and starting out, this wasn't too much of a conscious decision. This became something I became aware of as I got older, but really listening and observing what my families wanted. Because when I started my studio, I made the conscious decision that I wanted it to be a recreation studio. And at the time, there were other studios around, and they were brilliant, but they were offering the competitions and they were offering the exam work. There weren't, to my knowledge, many predominantly recreation schools around. And so when I started out, and I pretty much did it because I didn't want to give up my weekends. And I grew up in a studio that we did competitions. I did all my exam work. I have the most beautiful memories of it. But I think when I was that young and started running these classes, I didn't want to give up my weekends. And so that's why I just thought, no, we'll just keep it recreational. We'll just do concerts, keep it as carefree and easy for everyone involved. And so I really stuck to that. And there were a certain amount of people in the community, well, clearly a lot of people in the community that actually wanted that. And so that's why I think my numbers were and have always been so strong, because I had a very clear vision of what we were and what we offered. And then those right people then came to the studio, and they come and they're happy. And the other benefit of that, which is the next point, is that I have a true understanding of what my families need. So again, still to this day, I am asking myself, what is it that they need? What is it that they want? Now, the area that I'm in, we have, a heavy population of working parents. So my parents need convenience. They are busy. They've got multiple children, so they're probably dropping one at soccer practice and one at gymnastics and one at dance. So I want to make the experience of dance as easy as possible so that they don't have to go to the shops to get extra stuff. They don't need to dedicate time where because they're so busy, or they could be, spending time with their family and things like that. So for me, we have all the uniform, we have shoes, we have anything that they're going to need at the studio. And so it's all there. I know that that's going to benefit my parents because it's easy for them. And so that's why we offer that. It may be for you that you may be in an area where you have to offer specific programs. It may be that your families might need a discount if they've got multiple children. Things like that. Different payment options might be something that your families need. Have a think and have a look at what your studio needs and the area that you live in, and then try and gain that understanding to be able to give them what they need. Moving on to number 6, and that is having a plan. Now, I know some people don't really like the idea of planning, but for me, I don't feel that you can head in a direction without a plan. And it doesn't have to be steadfast. It doesn't have to be the be all and end all, but you need some idea of the direction you're heading. And so back at the beginning, I had a plan. At first, the first plan was just to get through my last year of high school and then officially start the business the year after. Having that plan and having the steps that needed to be taken is how we continue to grow over the time. And again, to this day, when we're starting something new, we have a plan, we make the steps, and then we make sure we follow through. And it's okay if halfway along the journey you pivot or you change your idea or you change direction, whatever that is, it doesn't matter. But in order to keep moving forward, you need to have an idea of where you're going. And then the final step in growing your studio is taking the leap and actually doing it. And sometimes that can be easier said than done because sometimes you're taking a risk, or it might be personal as well. Our heart is on the line with a lot of the decisions that we make because this is an emotional job, and a lot of the things that we are deciding is based on emotion and other people's emotion, which can take a lot of energy. But I do encourage you to take the leap because really, what's the worst that can happen? If it doesn't work, you can change it. That's all good. But that's what I do. Keep taking the leap. Keep just doing it. Keep moving forward, and then you'll keep growing. So they're the 7 steps. I'll recap them for you again. So the first one is just slowly. Just take it slowly to build that solid foundation. Make sure that you are doing things yourself before you're asking people to do them for you or before you're hiring people, just to make it more efficient when you are hiring new staff. The third one was to take the time when you are ready to grow, consciously make decisions and do actions to make that happen. Or if you're ready to consolidate, make those conscious decisions to consolidate by following through with those actions. Number 4 is listening and observing to what your families want. 5, truly understanding what they need. And those 2 points are so powerful. If you can wrap your head around those, you'll see amazing things happen in your studio. Number 6 is to have that plan. And number 7 is to take the leap and do it. All right, then, I would love to hear from you, and I'd love for you to let me know if you are consciously doing any of these things as part of your business growth strategy. And I'd also love if you could share this episode, rate and review if possible, and if you feel so inclined, take a screenshot and tag me at Dance Teacher Central and share on your socials. I would really appreciate that, and the more we can spread the word, the more studio owners that can benefit from it. Anyway, I will leave it there for today, and I'll be back next week with another exciting episode of Dance Studio Empire. Thank you for listening to this episode of Dance Studio Empire. If you enjoyed it, please share it on your stories on Instagram and be sure to tag me at Dance Teacher Central so I can say thank you. And if you really want to support me and the show, I'd absolutely love for you to leave a rating or review. For all the latest from me, you can follow me at Dance Teacher Central on Instagram and Facebook. Be sure to tune in next week for more strategies and tips to ensure you are building your dance studio empire.